Every single living thing, from a tiny microbe all the way to you and me, is on this constant, incredible journey. It's all about a nonstop flow of energy. So today, we're going to dive into the basic rules of being alive, the life processes that turn our food into fuel, and that fuel into, well, everything that makes you, you. Just think about the last thing you ate. Seriously, you take a bite, you chew it up, you swallow, and then what happens? Where does it actually go? And how in the world does it become the energy that's letting you even process what I'm saying right now? Well, that is the amazing story we're going to get into today. So that really gets us to the heart of it, right? I mean, how do we draw the line between something like a rock and a rabbit or a car and a person? The answer, it turns out, is in a set of absolutely essential activities that basically define what life is. Okay, so the official term for these activities is life processes. And you can just think of them as the non-negotiable 24/7 jobs your body has to do to keep you going. It's this whole system of getting fuel, which is nutrition, turning it into energy, that's respiration, moving it all around your body, that's transport, and of course, getting rid of the waste, which is excretion. It is a full-time operation, for sure. Or, hey, let's put it even more simply. Eat, breathe, pee, repeat. It sounds almost silly, right? But that simple cycle is the absolute bedrock of your survival. It's literally the science of your daily routine. All right, so let's start with the first and maybe the most fun step, eating. We are going to follow a single bite of food on its incredible trip through the human digestive system, and we're going to see exactly how we get the fuel that keeps us running. So why do we even eat? It's not just about stopping that rumbling in your stomach. No, it's a mission. It's a targeted mission to get four crucial things. Carbohydrates for that quick burst of energy, proteins for building and repairing everything, fats for long-term fuel storage, and of course, vitamins and minerals to keep all the internal machinery working just right. So the journey kicks off the second that food enters your mouth. Your teeth get things started with the mechanical part, crushing it all into smaller pieces. But right away, at the exact same time, a chemical process begins. There's this enzyme in your saliva called salivary amylase, and it immediately gets to work, starting to break down complex starches into much simpler sugars. From there, the food takes a trip down to the stomach, which you can think of it like a super acidic chemical plant. It's got hydrochloric acid to zap any germs, an enzyme called pepsin that's a specialist in breaking down proteins, and, this is brilliant, a thick layer of mucus that protects the stomach wall from being digested by its own acid. After the stomach's done its thing, the food, now kind of like a thick soup, moves into the small intestine. And listen, this is the main event. This is where the real magic happens. It's this long, coiled tube where digestion is totally, completely finished. But it doesn't do it alone. It calls in for backup from two very important neighbors, the liver and the pancreas. And check out this teamwork. The liver sends in something called bile juice. Its job is to neutralize that harsh stomach acid and also to emulsify fats, which is a fancy way of saying it breaks big blobs of fat into tiny little droplets. That gives the enzymes way more surface area to work on. Then, the pancreas jumps in with its own juices, which have enzymes like trypsin for proteins and lipase for those fats. And finally, the intestine itself releases its own juices to finish everything off. So, after all that incredible chemical teamwork, what are we actually left with? Once the whole process is done, what have those complex things in your food, the proteins, the carbs, the fats, what have they become? And here are the final products. Proteins are broken down into their basic building blocks, which are amino acids. Carbohydrates are turned into simple sugars, mostly glucose, and fats get converted into fatty acids and glycerol. These are the tiny, usable molecules our body can finally absorb and put to good use. But how does our body actually grab them? Well, the inside wall of the small intestine is covered in millions of these tiny, finger-like things called villi. They are incredible. They increase the surface area so much it's like having a tennis court folded up inside you. This massive area is perfect for absorbing all those valuable nutrients directly into the bloodstream to be sent off wherever they're needed. Okay, so we've just seen how animals, like us, get our food. But what about plants? I mean, they can't exactly go to the grocery store. So let's shift gears and look at the organisms that don't need to eat at all, because they are the ultimate chefs. They make their own food.
And this brings us to a really basic split in the entire living world. On one side, you have the consumers, like us, who have to go out and find food. And on the other side, you have the creators, the producers, the ones who make it from scratch.
So, the scientific terms for these two teams are heterotrophic and autotrophic. Heterotrophs, that's all animals. We need to consume other organisms to get our energy. But autotrophs, like green plants, are the masters. They prepare their own food using really simple ingredients they just pull from the environment, like carbon dioxide and water. And this right here is their secret recipe. It's honestly one of the most important chemical reactions on the entire planet, photosynthesis. Plants take carbon dioxide from the air, water from the ground, and using the energy from sunlight, they cook it all up into glucose. That's their food. And as a little bonus for us, they release the very oxygen that we need to survive. Pretty good deal, huh? But how does that carbon dioxide even get inside the plant? Well, it enters through these tiny little pores, mostly on the underside of leaves called stomata. You can think of them like tiny mouths that can open and close to let the CO2 in and let oxygen and water vapor out. It is an amazing bit of biological engineering. So, at this point, it doesn't matter if you're a plant that just made a batch of glucose or an animal that just absorbed some from its lunch. The next step is exactly the same for both. You've got the fuel, now you have to unlock the energy inside it. And for that immediate energy, the main event is breaking down that glucose.
Now, here's something that trips people up all the time, but it's super important: the difference between breathing and respiration. Breathing is just the physical part, right? It's the mechanics of getting oxygen into your lungs and carbon dioxide out. But respiration, that's the chemical process that happens deep inside every single one of your cells to actually use that oxygen to burn glucose and release its energy.
So, when it comes down to it, respiration is the process that takes the chemical energy locked away in glucose and converts it into a form that the cell can actually use. And that form is called ATP. You can think of ATP as the universal energy currency for all life on Earth. It's like the dollar bill of the cellular world. And the absolute most efficient way to make ATP is through what's called aerobic respiration. Aerobic just means with oxygen. This is the process that uses oxygen to break down a glucose molecule completely, squeezing out every last possible drop of energy. Okay, let's bring this all home. We have followed the entire incredible journey. We started with a complex piece of food, we watched it go through the amazing disassembly line of digestion, we saw it get broken down into simple glucose molecules, and finally, we saw how it enters our cellular power plants for that final, critical energy conversion. So, what's the final payout? What do we get for all that work? Well, from just one single molecule of glucose, the process of aerobic respiration can generate a whopping 38 units of ATP. It is a stunningly efficient system that takes the food on your plate and transforms it into the very energy of life itself. Kind of makes you think a little differently about your next meal, doesn't it?